A man points at a deer and calls it a horse. The strangest part of the story is not that he confused two animals. It is that every minister in the court had to answer, and every answer became a name on a list. If you were standing there, would you tell the truth? This is not just an idiom, it is an obedience test. In the next few minutes, we are following three questions. Why did Zhao Gao bring a deer into court? Why was silence not a safe answer? And why can a man on the throne lose reality before he loses power? The story happened under the second emperor of Qin, after Qin had unified China. The records of the grand historian is very direct. In the third year of the second emperor, Zhao Gao wanted to make a move, but feared the ministers would not obey him. So he first set up a test. He brought a deer before the emperor and said, "This is a horse. If we treat this as a joke, we miss the point." Zhao Gao was not losing his mind. He was not testing whether people knew animals. He was setting up a public examination. And the subject of that examination was not only the emperor, it was the entire court. Once the deer entered the hall, everybody's position changed. The emperor had to react. The ministers had to choose a response. Zhao Gao had to watch the room. That is why this ridiculous question was more useful than a secret order. It forced everyone to answer in public. The second emperor saw the deer. He asked whether the chancellor was mistaken. Was he calling a deer a horse? Then he asked the people around him. The answers split into three kinds. Some people stayed silent. Some people called it a horse and followed Zhao Gao. Some people called it a deer. Those three reactions were what Zhao Gao really wanted to see. The people who said horse had offered a pledge. The people who said deer had exposed themselves. But what about the people who stayed silent? Silence looks like the safest answer, but in a room like that, silence is not neutrality. It is only an unfinished exam. Zhao Gao did not need everyone to truly believe that a deer was a horse. He needed to know who would move first and who would openly refuse. So the deer was no longer only an animal. It became a test sheet. The word horse was no longer only an answer. It became a pledge. And the court became an examination room. Here is the colder logic. Some lies are not meant to be believed. They are meant to be obeyed. Zhao Gao did not need the ministers to look at the deer and sincerely see a horse. He needed them to surrender their own eyes in a public place. Once you said horse out loud, you had done more than give a wrong answer. You had told Zhao Gao, "I know who controls this room." You had also told everyone else, "I have chosen my side." That is why the most frightening part of the story is not that a lie defeated a fact. It is that the lie became a pass and the fact became a risk. In the previous story about burning books and burying scholars, we saw Qin's obsession with standardizing language. In Zhao Gao's hands, that logic became brutally simple. There was only one question left in the court. But after the answers were collected, what did Zhao Gao do with the people who said deer? The records of the grand historian continues with one sharp line. Zhao Gao secretly used the law to strike those who had called it a deer. The ministers feared him. That line is short, but it is the blade of the whole story. It tells us the test did not end in the court. It ended when the list was used. If saying deer had no cost, the scene would only be absurd. But once saying deer carried a cost, the scene became organized fear. When ministers looked at Zhao Gao, they did not only remember the animal, they remembered what happened to the people who named it correctly. That is the complete loop of an obedience test. Create an absurd question, watch every reaction, make the wrong answer safe and the true answer dangerous. But there is a larger question here. Where was the emperor in all of this? The biography of Li Si gives an even sharper version. After Li Si died, the second emperor appointed Zhao Gao as chancellor, and affairs, great and small, were decided through Zhao Gao. In that account, Zhao Gao presented the deer as a horse. The emperor asked the people around him, "Is this not a deer?" And they all said,
"It is a horse."
The emperor was shocked. He even began to suspect that he himself was confused and called for divination. That detail matters because calling a deer a horse does not only destroy the courage of ministers, it also destroys the ruler's contact with reality. When every voice around one person has learned to give the same false answer, that person may still sit on the throne, but reality can no longer reach his ears. That is a quieter kind of collapse. There is no broken palace gate yet, no army has entered the capital yet, no throne has been physically taken away, but the ruler's world has already been edited by the people standing closest to him. The deer is still standing there, but the court can no longer speak the world as it is. So, what Zhao Gao took away was not the name of an animal. It was the court's ability to judge reality together. That is why this story is still alive. It is not about ancient people failing to identify an animal. It is not about one powerful man saying something foolish. It is about what people do when truth and survival are placed on opposite sides of a scale. Is to trust your eyes, is to trust the situation, is to hope you will not be seen. But Zhao Gao's cruelest move was that every reaction became information. What you did not say was also information. Even the delay before your answer, even the direction of your eyes, even your hope that nobody noticed you was already part of the test. How much judgment you were willing to surrender. All of it entered the list. So the answer to the story, who still dared to tell the truth, who had learned to be safely confused, who could remain, and who needed to be removed. That is what Zhao Gao was really pointing at. History becomes chilling, not when lies appear, but when lies become the pass, and truth becomes the risk. Whether the deer is a deer is no longer the most important question. The real question is whether anyone still dares to say, even when the room punishes the sentence. If you were standing in that court, would you say deer or nothing? Tomorrow, we talk about moving a log to build trust, and why one piece of wood could buy the credibility of a state. Follow Hangshi for more history buried by time.